up guys, welcome back for another episode. As you can see here, we have my 2022 G80 M3 and BMW individual Amola Red. Specifically, we have the manual transmission in this car. And for the past 3+ years, I've gathered some good insight about why a lot of people are not choosing the manual and also my personal experience with the manual transmission. Hopefully this video gives you more insight, whether you're choosing your next build or figuring out whether you want the manual or the ZF8 speed. And in this video, we're gonna tackle all that. So one of the major reasons on why people are not choosing the manual transmission is that a lot of people really can't drive a manual car. I think statistically, right, we're looking at the United States right now, there's only 18% of the population that really knows how to drive a manual car. This isn't a hard transmission to learn on. And then looking into the European Union, a lot of people are seeing the decrease in numbers of people wanting to drive a manual transmission. Still, there's more people in Europe that's able to drive a manual transmission. I think they dropped in the past 2% in the past few years, but I think they're roughly in the 30 percentile. But looking into the United States, only about 18% statistically know how to run through the gears. The hardest part is not really running through the gears, it's more of getting off first gear, right? First gear is probably the hardest, I guess, hill for people to kind of learn and task, right? As long as you learn how to, feel the clutch and to kind of go through what engagement point you need, it becomes a little bit easier. But when you ask around to some of your friends or even the car community, people will tell you the reason why I didn't get one. One of the reasons would be is because they don't know how to drive one, right? Driving a manual transmission. For myself, I've been driving manual since I was 16 years old. I'm in my mid-30s now. I'm about to be getting closer to my 40s, which is insane to think about. But for me, I love a manual transmission. It's fun for me to, sometimes sit in traffic, getting off first, and it's just, I have a little bit more to do in just sitting behind the wheel and just letting the car do everything for me. If I wanted that, I would drive my wife's X5, which we drive a lot more because we have a kid now. But people think this car is gonna be a hard car to learn to drive a manual car. It's really not. For a car that's in the modern era and being a sports car, this clutch is very forgiving. It's not a hard clutch to learn on. Some people may have said it's too numb, which, I've driven a Honda before and that clutch is pretty soft. This clutch is just a little bit more stiffer than a Honda clutch. It's not the stiffest clutch out there, and if you're a real car guy, do you really want a stiffer clutch? Probably, but it's very forgiving, very easy to learn on. If you're on a flat surface, you almost need no throttle to get off first gear. You can just ride the clutch up and to let the car start rolling for you to, start driving. But also too, this car has something called auto rev match. So if you're a new driver and you're somebody that's getting into learning how to drive a manual car, the hardest thing besides getting off first gear would be rev match. In a automatic car, the car automatically revs to the gear or revs to the appropriate RPMs so your car can downshift. In a manual car, let's just say you're in second and going into third and you're going to overtake somebody and you want to get into second, you're going to have to rev with your right foot while you have the clutch in to the specific RPMs that you would need to throw it into second gear, because if not, you're going to have that jerky motion and it's going to put major wear and tear on your clutch and also your transmission. So, which is why some people feel it's very difficult to learn, because there's another task for you to learn on top of getting off first gear. One thing I do want to reiterate is that the auto rev match makes it very dumb proof, right? So, like I said earlier, you would normally have to rev with your right foot, right, the throttle, to get the RPMs up to that specific range where you're going, depending on speed. This car does it for you. This car has auto rev match, so if you're a person that's lazy or a person that's unfamiliar with the whole, learning how to drive a manual car, this car will rev the RPMs to the specific ones you need as you go into the lower gear. So technology has improved on, I guess you could say, the learning capacity for people that want to get into one. But also too, for the ones that are hardcore manual drivers and people like myself, it numbs it out a little bit, right? But you can also go into your iDrive, whether you have the iDrive 7, 8, 8.5. You can also take off the auto rev mat to make it more raw, so to say. But also, as you get this car, you can customize a lot of things between your steering feel, your braking feel, and also your auto rev match. So with a lot of newer cars, especially this car, we have something called hill assist, right? So if you're on a surface where you're on an incline, you're in first gear, ready to roll, a lot of the older cars, you would roll back. And that would give a lot of people anxiety if you're really new. The trick was back in the day was to use your e-brake, which we no longer have anymore in this car, is to use the e-brake to keep you still, to get into first gear, to start rolling, and then let go of the e-brake. That was the old school mentality. Newer cars these days, just like this one here, you're actually able to leave it in first gear, and as long as you had your brakes on in traffic and you're on a hill, you let go of your brakes, your car has about a few seconds to keep you in that still position for you to get off first gear. So that's something called hill assist. A lot of these newer cars have that, and something that I think you could probably eventually code it out if you want to be more raw, but I haven't heard of anybody needing to do that. And plus, reality is that it's a safety feature, right? Especially if you're rolling back in traffic, you don't want to hit the person behind you because that's going to be pretty embarrassing. So a lot of old school people too would like to say, the reason why I didn't want to get the new manual transmission is because it feels dull. Don't get me wrong, nothing's going to feel like how it was on the E36, E46, or even the E92. Transmissions eventually change, things eventually get softened up for the general population, but does it feel dull? To me, it doesn't feel much. It feels a little bit more, I guess you could say, I don't know, I really don't see much of a difference between my F80, because I did have F80, and in that car, I had a manual transmission. It doesn't feel drastically different, right? Between the engagement of the clutch and also running through the gears. I do admit that it doesn't feel as, I guess you say, gritty as a lot of people would want, but there's solutions for that, right? One of the solutions you can do is Auto Solutions. They make a short shifter that makes it very notchy. That is something that I'm going to want to do in the future. For me, I would like a little shorter shift. I would like a little bit more of a notchier feeling in the transmission. And a lot of people that have driven a Porsche, right, their transmission is very notchy, very, you could say, engaging, and it feels good to run through those gears. With that modification from Auto Solutions, I can't wait to just change that out and to kind of have that short shifter and also feel more of a notchier feeling. Another company that does make an upgrade or, to make it more raw is Rogue Engineering. But from what I've heard from multiple people, Auto Solutions is something that you would want to do because the owner itself, I guess they have a questionnaire you go through, and they kind of ask you exactly, how your driving style is, and then he tailors his solution for your manual transmission to be catered to yourself. For me, I want the most aggressive and also notchy feeling, and I think in the future we're going to be adding that to this car. For me, this is my ultimate dream car, and actually another dream car would be a Porsche, but not yet. I did want to mention, if you guys like videos like this and how it's going, hit the like button. It helps me decide what types of videos that you guys like, and also it helps my channel out. I don't ask for much. Please hit the like button, and let's continue with the rest of the video. So with a lot of those reasons I just mentioned, and also some of the pros and cons, a really big reason why people don't want to choose the manual transmission is because the limitations, right? We're talking about limitations with power. So if you're the person that wants to go 1,000 horsepower, or you want to go to past 800 horsepower, this is probably not the car for you. Sure, it could be done, but it gets very costly, right? Because you're gonna have to look into a lot of supporting mods when it comes to making these cars insanely fast. These cars are really fast, in my personal opinion, and with a lot of people really believe that this car is fast enough, but I think with the G80 community and also the G8X community, I think a lot of people really care about having the highest horsepower. And I'm not saying that's not the best way to build your car. We all have different ways of building our cars, right? Me personally, I like a good-looking car, a nice stance car, something that I could take to the show, drive comfortably with. Maybe in the future we'll push some power, but that's just not my prerogative, right? Then you have other people that will want to push insane horsepower, reach the highest numbers, run something in the 8s or maybe reach to the 7s, right, on a quarter mile. That's just not me. But every time you look on the internet or even Instagram, a lot of people are really pushing for those numbers, right? Pushing single turbos, you know, blowing their transmission and getting it rebuilt. But also, I think a lot of people focus on that when you look at the entirety of the G8X community. But I respect that. It's insane. It's insane, some of these cars and what they're doing. And I really think we're still in the beginning stages of what the potential is for this, you know, chassis, right? We looked at the R35 GTR. That has been out for a while, and people are pushing an insane amount of horsepower, 2,000 plus horsepower. I think in the near future, we could probably see a lot of insane people push 2,000 horsepower on the automatic transmission with, you know, supporting accessory mods and stuff like that. But going back into this, if you're looking to push power in a manual car, you're going to need a lot of supporting mods. In San Diego, we spoke to one owner, and he has a manual car, and he talked about some of his struggles and also triumphs on modifying his manual car with some of the issues he's had with blowing the transmission and, you know, obviously upgrading it to a Tremec transmission. I believe I said it right. I'm not really sure, but if I'm not, correct me. And anything throughout this whole video, if you guys have any input to put in, please let me know down in the description, because to be honest, a lot of people do read the comments and we kind of vibe off of it, and we also kind of learn from it too. And if you could do me a favor, like I mentioned earlier, hit the like button. It helps videos like this get to other people that are looking into a manual car or a ZF8 speed. And for me, it helps my channel out. And I don't really ask much from you guys, just hit the like button. It definitely helps the channel out. Another downside too is that the manual transmission does not come in all-wheel drive, which could be a deal breaker for a lot of people. Do you need all-wheel drive all the time? Yes and no, because if you're looking to push low numbers on the track, or if you live in an inclement weather area, for example, if you lived in Alaska and you have a G80, hats off to you, you may want a manual transmission car. Unfortunately, the manual does not come in a all-wheel drive setup. That would be awesome, right? Because I came from the Subaru community where you can have a manual car, also the automatic car, and you're able to have the all-wheel drive. To be able to have an all-wheel drive car in a manual, that'd be amazing. But obviously BMW didn't come up with that. I'm not sure what the limitations were or what made them decide not to. The good thing about having a all-wheel drive car is that when you're trying to push power, you're able to have all four wheels hook, right? If you want to use the Mickey Stickies, you can have Mickey Stickies on all four corners and have that grip factor. But when you have a manual transmission, you're going to have to rely on just the rear wheels to make sure you get down the line. Another reason why that people wouldn't want to get a manual transmission car is because even if you're not trying to go crazy, you're not trying to push 7s or 8s and you just want an extra 100 and 150 horsepower, most likely eventually you're going to need a new clutch. The stock clutch could only handle so much. If you were to send out your DME over to Femto, go through the whole process of getting it tuned, do a stage 2, downpipes and a tune, basically push another 100 plus 150 horsepower, maybe 200 extra horsepower, your transmission should be okay, depending on how your driving style is, but your clutch is going to need to be upgraded. And also, you could ride your stock clutch, but eventually you're going to have some slippage and you're not going to be able to put all that power down respectively and also on a, I guess, consistent basis. So that's something to keep in mind. Even if you were to do a piggyback tune, I think personally, if you're to do a piggyback tune, your clutch is eventually going to do wear and tear and you're going to have to eventually swap that clutch out. And a lot of people have used upgraded clutches. A good example is Vehicle Virals. He has a G87 M2. he added a clutch master's clutch, and he reported back a few times and said that it still feels great. There's a little bit more chatter, and for a sports car, the chatter shouldn't really bother you, but it does do a good job on it holding the power. I think he was in the 700 to 800 horsepower, maybe a little bit less. I don't really remember the numbers he was pushing, but you know, he's building that car into a beast. And for people that want to cater to the community, right? That's another example that you could push power, but you're going to have those need for supporting mods. And then stock for stock, right? And people that really care about it, stock for stock for a ZF8 speed to a manual transmission, the ZF8 speed just comes with more horsepower. It comes with more horsepower, more torque. And then I've driven the ZF8 speed when I was actually at the BMW Performance Center multiple times. And the ZF8 speed shifts lightning quick, and it's very aggressive depending on what mode you are on how it shifts. With obviously the manual transmission, you could have aggressive shifts, but you're gonna have to do it, and it's big difference, right? It's like a yin and yang kind of type of thing. And I'm just gonna say here, the ZF8 speed is king when you want to go fast and when you want to make power. But end of the day, you got to look at everything all together and see what fits your build, right? How do you want to drive? Don't worry about how other people are driving. Me personally, I'm not trying to be the fastest ones out there. I'm just trying to enjoy the car. I don't mind going through the gears. And sure, there are some shortfalls when it comes to the engagement of the car, but there is also modifications. And if you're the person that doesn't want to look to modify a car, then maybe this transmission or this car itself may not be for you. A lot of people compare the M3, right, to the Cadillac Blackwing, right, the CT5 Blackwing, and people have boasted really highly about that manual transmission. Me personally, one thing that's keeping me into this car and this transmission is the community, right, and also what we built at Beamer Invasion. For me, I've always wanted to try the Cadillac theme and to see how that V8 feels, and also the manual transmission. But you guys that watch the channel and the ones that come to our Beamer Invasion events really keep me into this car, and I have no regrets. This car has been amazing for the past 3+ years, and the amount of videos and also meeting a lot of people from the community is something what I would say is priceless. So I really want to thank you guys for watching this video, and hopefully this video gives you more insight if you want to own a manual transmission or stick to the ZF8 speed, or you just like videos like this because it gives you more insight about this entire platform because you do want to buy one eventually. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments, and I want to thank you guys again, and I'll see you guys on the next video.